Hey guys, welcome to another sound card review for DOS and with the ISA interface. This one is a little bit hard to identify. It's got the OPTi 82C929A chipset, but it might also go under the name of MAD16 Pro. We got the sound card from Electromine. You're looking at around 23 to 25 euros. There are links down below in the description. And for you guys, there's also another 20% off. Just check the coupon down below. So in this video, we will go over the features of the card. There are some sound recordings. We will check out the software and the drivers. And at the end, my conclusion and summary. So let's have a look at these two chips. We've got one labeled LS212 and there's another one here, LS215. And these are basically clones. This one is a clone of the Yamaha OPL3 and this is a clone of the digital analog converter that usually goes with the Yamaha OPL3. We will find out later how this one sounds. And this is the main chipset, the OPTi 82C929A. And looking at the official datasheet that I found on the internet, it officially is compatible with AdLib and Sound Blaster, but it doesn't mention Sound Blaster Pro. Although in another area on the same page, it does mention it is Sound Blaster compatible up to 44 kilohertz in stereo. But if we take a look at the user manual of one of these sound cards, it does mention Sound Blaster Pro compatibility. And this discrepancy is quite interesting and we will find out very soon why. And the other chipset on the sound card is from Analog Devices, the AD1846JP. Now, some sound cards have a similar chip in a similar position, but from crystal, and it does the same function. This one is basically the codec, and under DOS it handles the Windows sound system compatibility. There's a jumper here right behind the headphone jack, and that basically configures the output, be it either line out or headphone out with an amplifier. In this position, it is configured to line out and the volume wheel gets deactivated, which is good. The volume wheel on this card crackles quite noticeable. So turning it to line out mode, you get a clean output and the volume dial just doesn't do anything anymore. And there's one more jumper down here. And this one, I believe, has to do with the CD-ROM options. I had a look on the internet. I didn't find much information, but I believe it toggles between the IDE option for CD-ROM or the other ones. And here we have a look at all the CD-ROM interfaces. We've got one for Sony. This one is for IDE optical drives. This one is for Mitsumi and one for Panasonic. And up here you can connect the audio cable for your CD-ROM drive. The software has a mixer built in and there's a slider for the CD-ROM drive. So if you're not using that, you can just mute it. We also have a wavetable header, so you just take your wavetable board and you attach it like that. The MPU MIDI interface on this sound card is bug-free and it is also compatible with soft MPU. Looking at the ports at the back, we've got line in and microphone in. The volume dial, which only works if the jumpers are set to speaker out. So if the onboard amplifier is actually activated. We've got the output, be it line out or speaker out. And we have a game port, but this is also a MIDI interface. So if you want to connect an external MIDI device, you just plug it in like that and off you go. I think it's time for some audio recordings of the sound card. I put together a new test bench for my sound card reviews. We're using a Pentium 100, but the level 1 cache has been turned off. 32 mega RAM, and we're using an SD card, which makes it really easy for me to load games and drivers onto the machine. So first up, let's listen to the FM quality of the sound card. So what do you think of the LS212? To my ears, this is a perfect clone of the Yamaha OPL3. I really couldn't detect any difference. So in terms of FM quality, this is the real deal and you should be very happy. And now let's check out the Sound Blaster compatibility. First up, it is compatible with the AD-PCM codec, so games like Duke Nukem 2 will sound just fine. But what about the DMA clicking bug? Let's find out.
I'm thirsty.
I don't think you should drink that. It looks bad for you.
Nonsense. It makes me feel great. Smarter. More aggressive. I feel like I could. Like I could. Like I could. Take on the world.
So that sounded pretty good. I wasn't able to hear a DMA clicking bug on the sound card, so this is perfect for older games that use the single cycle DMA mode. Unfortunately, we do have one little issue. Remember how the datasheet actually didn't mention Sound Blaster Pro compatibility? Well, let's listen to a few games that support the Sound Blaster Pro with stereo sound effects.
0, 0, 0.
So in some games like TIE Fighter and Duke Nukem 3D, we're getting proper stereo, but in other games like in Descent, Turrican 2 and Epic Pinball, unfortunately the sound plays back only in mono. I played around a little bit more, and if you run the Duke Nukem 3D sound test, it will enable stereo, for example, in Turrican 2. In Epic Pinball, however, it will only work during the intro sequence, and as soon as you start a new table, it will go back to mono. And Descent, unfortunately, I couldn't get it going. However, Descent and Turrican 2 do support Windows sound systems, so at least with those games you have an option. But there will be games where the stereo doesn't work in Sound Blaster Pro mode. And we also have Windows Sound System compatibility. You need to run the software and toggle the mode between Sound Blaster Pro and Windows Sound System. And there are quite a few games that support it, and if they do, you get crystal clear audio, for example, in Descent and in Turrican 2. The sound quality is amazing, better than with the Sound Blaster Pro option.
0, 0, 0.
So we had a look at the card and all the ports. Let's check out the software and the drivers. So let's have a look at the drivers, and I must say they are awesome. It's such a user-friendly interface. It's all graphical. Version 2.5 is the latest, I believe, at least the latest I was able to find. I found a few earlier ones and they look similar but not as polished. So what I like about these drivers is that you can do everything right at the beginning, even the mixer. So we click on Start Installation, and it's just going to ask what drive and what folder. I leave all that at the default settings. I press OK, and it's going to proceed to copying a few files across to the hard drive. Then we've got the choice of if we want the CD-ROM controller. So I'm gonna go with no. I'm gonna press OK, and here I can control all my resources. Here I toggle between Sound Blaster Pro and Windows Sound System. I'm going to use the same resources, interrupt and delay as for the Sound Blaster. So let me just toggle back here. I'm going to change the interrupt to 7 gain port. We can turn it on and off. I'll leave it turned on. We have the Midi interface here. We can turn it on and off. Address 330 and also the interrupt. I can go to volume. This is my mixer. And usually what I do is tune it for low noise. So I'm gonna turn down the CD audio. However, if you've got a CD audio cable connected, then of course you wanna turn that up. One thing is missing, and that is the a control for the wavetable board. So you can't control the volume of the wavetable board, but you can control everything else around it in order to fit. The FM music, in my opinion, is a little bit too quiet at 60, so I recommend also putting that up to 85, and usually speech is actually louder, so you might want to turn that down a little bit, but it really depends on your preferences. And we've got some input here as well. There's a sound test, so you can test that your sound card works. I've got a little speaker plugged into my mixer which you can't see, and that's all working fine. And once we're done here with the sound tests, we're gonna press OK, press done, done. That's all configured correctly. We press accept, and it's gonna tell us it's gonna update the autoexec and config file, and then we're gonna reboot our machine. Okay, so we are rebooting now into DOS. This is my startup menu. If you're interested in that, let me know. I'll give you a link where you can download all these files. And here we can see the driver being loaded. So Sound Blaster on 220, interrupt 7, DMA 1. We've got the MPU Midi interface turned on address 330, interrupt 9, and also the gain port turned on. If you want to reconfigure anything, it is in the Sound 16 directory. And there is a file we need to run. Let me just see what the file name is. It is sound init, so smd init. And it's basically the same program we looked at before. Why do you want to go in here? Well, if you want to switch your card to Windows Sound System, you have to do it in here. Select Windows Sound System, press accept, and then restart your machine. Or if you want to change any of the resources, or if you want to change the volume. So there's no dedicated mixer app. It's all in this one device installation program. So very convenient. So I'm gonna change that back to Sound Blaster Pro. And we are good to go. So very impressed with the drivers, very user-friendly. I like the user interface, being graphical and being able to use it with the mouse. So well done, a real highlight of this sound card. So let's summarize the sound card. Overall, I'm very impressed. So we have a lot of good things here. The software and the drivers are fantastic. I also like the FM quality. It is basically a Yamaha OPL3 clone, so it sounds just like the real thing. We have excellent Sound Blaster compatibility in terms of games actually working. All the games I tried, and I might put a list on the screen, they all work just fine. We have no DMA clicking bug, so old games will sound click-free and good on this sound card. We do have a bug-free MIDI interface, also soft MPU compatibility, so you can drive a wavetable header, a sound canvas, or an MT32 with soft MPU. All of that works fine. We have Windows Sound System support for games, well, that's supported with 16-bit quality and 44.1 or 48 kilohertz even, like games in Turrican 2, they sound absolutely gorgeous with that. And really the only negative is the issue with the stereo in Sound Blaster Pro mod, and really it depends how many games are affected, because some games might work and some games might support the Windows Sound System anyway. So really this is a perfect sound card apart from that little issue with the Sound Blaster Pro stereo compatibility. So looking at all of this, this is a really good sound card, and I can definitely recommend it to you. Price-wise, 23 to 25 euros is perfectly fine. You can spend a lot more on a creative Sound Blaster card, which might have a buggy MPU Midi interface or is a little bit noisier than this card. So definitely the value is also very good. So there you have it, guys. I really like this sound card, but what do you think? Share your thoughts down below in the comments. And that's it for this video. As always, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. Hit the notification bell, like or dislike the video, share it with your friends, and I shall see you soon with another one.